These are just two little cardigans that I have knitted. They were for a customer, but I made a PDF format pattern for both cardigans. The white one is what I'm going to show you in this tutorial, but the pink one is just a PDF for anyone that wants to knit. It's just a 16-inch, the same size as the white one. Hello everyone, this is Sheila back with another tutorial. This time I'm doing a 16-inch baby cardigan in the Rosebud Lace, and it's slightly different. I'm spacing the rosebuds a little bit closer together, being a very small cardigan, and I am doing it all in one, the back and the two fronts. So I've started off with 95 stitches, and I've knit 6 rows in 1 by 1 twisted rib. I always do my ribs twisted ribs for anybody that wants to do that. But do whatever rib you prefer. And then I knit 4 rows, and then I did the first pattern of the rosebud, and I'll show you how that one worked out. So I'm starting off with knit 5, and I'm going to do my first rosebud, and like I've told you before, you find that centre stitch above the rosebud, two rosebuds below. That's the centre hole, and that's the centre stitch. You take that up to your needle there, and that is the knit stitch. Those 2 stitches are the first 2 stitches of the pattern, the knit 2 together. So that's knitting 2 together. You wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over. Instead of knitting 5, I'm only knitting 3 in between. 1, 2, 3. And doing that again, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and again knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1 stitch, knit the next stitch, and pass the slip stitch over, and then knit 3 stitches. And that is how I'm working out the rosebuds. There's only 3 stitches in between each set of rosebuds, and doing it all in one, you don't have to worry about matching up the rosebuds on the side. So I'm going to knit across that row, and I'll come back in a second. And I'm at the end of that row, and I'm knitting the last 5 stitches. And the next row will be purl. Now I'll meet you at the end of that row. And we now on to the single little hole at the top of the bud here. So we're going to knit 7 stitches. the wool forward and knit 2 together, and then we're going to knit 6 in between each bud. Wool forward, knit 2 together, knit another 6, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 6, and now we'll be back at the end of that row, and I'm on to the last single bud. So I'm going to knit wool forward, knit 2 together, and we're knitting 2, 4, 6 at the end. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going to knit another purl row and then knit another 4 rows before I come back to the next rosebud. And I've knit the 4 rows and now onto the second bud, this one down here. So we're going to start off with knit 1 stitch, knit 2 stitches together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1 and pass that slip stitch over, and then knit 3, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit 3 stitches, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit 3, and I'm going to do that all the way across the row, and then I'll be back when I've finished that row. I'm on to the last rosebud, so I'm going to knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over and knit the last stitch. And now I'm going to knit a purl row, and I'll be back when I've knit that row. And now we're on to the single hole for the rosebud, so we're going to knit 3, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 6, four, 5, 6, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 6, that is 6, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 6, and repeat that across to the end of the row, and I will be back when I finish that row. Oh, the last increase, sorry. No, the last rosebud. Knitting 2 together and knitting the last 2 stitches. And now I'm going to purl 1 row. I've measured, that's 5 inches that I wanted. So now I'm going to divide the stitches for the armholes, for the front, the back and the 2 fronts. And I'm going to cast off 4 stitches in between the back and the left front, the back and the right front. And I am doing I'm doing the cast offs on the plain, on the start of the 4 plain knitted rows. So now we're going to divide for the armholes, and I'm going to knit 21 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 20, that's 21 stitches. So we're going to knit the next 2 stitches and cast off from there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to knit 45 stitches, and that last stitch of the cast off is your first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 41, 42, 43, 44. That's your 45 for the back. Now we're going to knit the next 2 stitches and start casting off 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you should have 21 stitches with that stitch on there. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. So we're going to knit to the end of the row now. That's the end of the row, and that's your cast offs for your armholes. Now you need to knit all those pieces separate, but I'm going to knit this side bit just across to the to where the cast off edge is for the armhole, and I'm going to put that onto some waste yarn, because I like to do the back first, because that gives me something to work out all the, as this is my own pattern, it's not a pattern that I'm following, and doing the back first gives me something to work out the where to do all the shaping for the fronts for the next one. I know how far to knit up before I start the next shaping. So that'll be another video when I get around to that. Now I'm going to join in another ball and knit across, so I don't have to break this yarn off, and then I can just carry on with the one of the fronts when I've finished the back. But if you don't have another ball, you just have to break it off here if you want to follow exactly how I'm doing it, because most people start with the sides first, but like I said, I like to do the back to work out the whole thing. So I'm going to join this yarn onto the centre back stitches, and I'm just going to purl across the row. Make that a little bit longer to stitch it in afterwards. I've just clipped that ball onto the holder that I'm holding the stitches on. That'll stop it getting ravelled up with the other ball. That's all the stitches for the back picked up. Now I'm going to put the stitches here for the other side. This would be the right front. I'm going to put those onto a holder as well. Make it easier to knit the back without those stitches getting in the way. So that's those, just the back stitches left, the back left on the needle. And I'm going to knit 2 more rows. Sit in stocking stitch. The 4 rows, this is the 4 rows of the plain stocking stitch. And then I'll be starting the shaping when I start the rosebuds. I've knit another 3 rows, so that way after the 4 rows of the plain stocking stitch, and I'm going to start decreasing now. We're going to knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and then find out where you have to put the next bud. So you go 2 buds down, and that's the line there to follow up to the needle. There's 1 stitch and there's 3 there, so we'll knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and carry on to the last 3 stitches. And then we knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, and then the next row is purl. And that's what you're going to do with the back. Just keep decreasing on alternate rows until there are 17 stitches left, and that'll be your back finished. Well, that's the back and the 2 fronts done. We separated all the stitches by casting off the armhole stitches, and for the back we started decreasing on the 5th row, and then every other row, every alternate row, until we had 17 stitches left, and put them onto a holder. And then the right front and the left front, we picked those stitches up. There was 45 stitches for the back and 21 stitches for each of the 2 fronts. And the front one was the same as the back. We decreased on the rejoined the yarn and decreased on the 5th row and every alternate row until there was 12 stitches left when we got up to here. And then we cast off 4 stitches for the neck and decreased on the next 2 rows on the neck edge, decreasing alternate rows on the armhole as well. And after we decreased 2 stitches on the neck edge, we just decreased on the armhole edge till there was 2 stitches left, and then purled 2 together, and did exactly the same on the other front. So that's all those pieces done now. I just have to do the sleeves. But this will all be in I am making a PDF as I am doing this. So all the information, instructions and everything will be in the PDF when I get it finished. But I have to start the sleeves next. We are now on to the sleeves, and I've cast on using 3.25mm needles. I've cast on 29 stitches and knitting 1 by 1 rib for 6 rows. Now usually when I do the rosebud pattern, I usually do 4 rows of stocking stitch straight after the rib, but this sleeve is only going to be ½ an inch longer than the body, so I want the decreasing to start on the same row as the body. So I've started the rosebud straight away after the rib, and we started off with the rosebud. This was knit 4, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, knit 3, and that is how that one went across the row. And then the next row was knit 6, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 6, wool forward, knit 2 together, and all the way across the row. And I've increased 1 stitch on the 5th row, and then going to be every 6th following row after that until I have 39 stitches on the needle, and I'll come back when I get that far. It's a sleeve done up to the armholes, and I've cast off 2 stitches each side, starting from the 4 knit rows, and then on the 5th row I've decreased, and on every alternate row after that. So the decrease is knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, and work those stitches into the pattern. 1, 2, 5, 6. Forward, knit 2 together. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knit 2 together. Wool forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knit 2 together. Wool forward, then knit 2 together for the decrease. And that's how we're going to decrease every other row, every alternate row, until you have 7 stitches left on the needle, and then you put that onto a holder. I use safety pins. These are the pieces all finished. I'm going to pick up the stitches for the neckband now, and I want 51, I have it written down somewhere. Yes, 51 stitches all together for the neckband. So I'm going to start with the right front. I have to turn it around to see which way it is. So I want 10 stitches here. Blow that up a little bit. That's the first one. Second. 3, 4. Now we have a hole here, which I don't want a hole in the neckband, so I'm going further down to pick up that stitch there. That closes the hole up a little bit, so that is 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 stitches now for the right front. I'm going to pick up 7 stitches from one of the sleeves. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to pick up 23 for the back. Oh, sorry, don't know where I got 23 from. Going to pick up 17 for the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 for the back. Another 7 from the other sleeve. It's a bit awkward off these little pins. I wish I did a proper stitch holder this size. The pins. And now we want another 10 down the left front. Find the right place to start. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's made a big hole there. That's 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 51 stitches I have on there, and I'm going to knit the first row, and that puts an edge across the whole, the start of the neck. and I will be back when I get to the end of that row. Down to my last 3 stitches. There you can see that edge, that's the start of the neckband. And now I'm going to knit 4 rows and knit 1 purl 1 rib. And I will be back when I've knit those rows. So that's 5 rows, 4 rows, sorry. So that's 4 rows knitted for the neckband. Now I'm going to cast off loosely in the same rib that I've been knitting in. Don't pull the stitch tight when you're casting off, just leave it loose. And just keep casting off like that until you get to the end of the row, which is where I will meet you. And I'm on to my last few stitches here, casting off. Oops, split that one. And then I have to cut that off. And that is the neckband done. And now we have to sew up the seams on the sleeves and set the raglans in place, and then we can do the front, the bands for the button and the buttonholes. That's the cardigan sewn up, and I have placed markers. I've done one side of the band, the button band part, and this is what I did, is what I've done on here. I've placed markers every 2 inches, so there's 2 inches there, 2 inches there, there, and 1 inch for the bottom. It's 9 inches from the top of the band to the bottom. So you're going to pick 12 stitches up between each space, 12 there, 12 there, 12 there, 12 there, and 6. So you want 54 stitches all together to pick up. And I'll show you how I'm picking the stitches up. Get some wool off the ball. And I'm starting with the bottom. So we're picking 6 stitches up on the bottom, that little bit down there. That's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You take that marker out, and then you're going to pick up 12 up to the next marker, and I usually go 1, 2, 3, miss the next one, 4, 5, 6, miss the next one, 7, 8, 9, miss the next one, 10, 11, 12. So that's how I usually go 3, pick up 3 and miss 1. That's how it usually works. But not always, but if it doesn't, just as long as you pick up 12 stitches between the markers, between the two, every 2 inches. So I'll come back when I finish picking those stitches up. So that's the 12 stitches picked up. I'm now going to knit just a knit row, the first row. I like to knit a first row because you get a garter line along here on the front that separates the border from the actual rest of the cardigan. So that first row is going to be knit. And now I'll meet you at the end of that row. So that's that first row knitted, and there you can see the garter running along their edge. Now I'm going to knit 4 rows and knit 1 purl, 1 rib. So I'll start my first row of the rib. And that will be back when I get to the buttonhole row. Now I have stitched markers where I'm going to put the buttonholes. So when I come to those stitches that the markers are around, I'll be putting the wool forward and knitting 2 together. They're just small buttonholes, small buttons, that's all we're putting on. So that's all we need to do. So I've knit 2 rows. I've knit 1 row after the pick-up stitches, and then I've knit 2 rows in rib. And I'm doing the buttonholes on the 3rd row. So we're going to so we've knit that stitch that the stitch markers round. You're going to put your wool forward and knit the next 2 stitches together and carry on to the next stitch marker. So we're on to the next stitch marker. So going to knit that stitch, bring the wool forward and knit the next 2 stitches together. And that's how you do the buttonholes. So that's the buttonholes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttonholes. Now I'm going to cast those stitches off. So I did the buttonholes on the 3rd row. I've knit one more row, and now I'm going to cast off the stitches. It's only a small baby's cardigan. You only need a small band. And you just need to cast off loosely like on the other band. That's both bands done. Just have to put the buttons on now. So that's 1/2 of an order finished. I have a little pink one to do the same size. And the lady's coming up this month sometime from Wales to our daughters, which I'll be hand delivering this one. So thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. So bye for now.